Are you a masochist? Do you like having to do triple the work to get the same reward? Well, my friends, if so, Spear Weaver might well be the build for you. Seriously though, a few people have asked me for a build guide on my previous videos, and since there aren't any guides available for it, I thought I'd make one. Obviously, I'm going to give advice from a WvW point of view. This certainly isn't going to be appearing in high-end PvE content, and although you could probably have some fun on this in SPVP, I haven't played that game mode in years, so can't really comment on it. So, why Weaver and not Evoker or Catalyst? The short answer is Weaver allows for longer, more complex combos, which I personally really enjoy and definitely has bigger one-shot potential. The recent buff has made it even better too. And why Spear? Because the animations are really cool, 1200 range, high damage, mobility and AoE. So let's quickly go over the skills on Spear. The auto attacks are straight line projectiles, they're okay, nothing special. The two skills are low cooldown damage skills, so in air you get Fulgor, which gives a damage over time effect based on power. To maximise this, enemies need to stay in the AoE the whole time, so you can throw this down on downed bodies or combo it with CCs, etc. In fire we have Blazing Barrage, which is really nice. It does good damage and a burn on a relatively low cooldown. You'll notice that the projectiles flies quite low on this one, so if you've got uneven terrain sometimes it will hit the terrain rather than your target. So pro tip here, if you jump mid-cast it will fire from a slightly higher angle, lowering the chance it will hit the terrain. It will still sometimes miss, but it will help you land it a little bit more consistently. Then in water we've got Ice Beam. For this skill you have to face the target, most of them we don't, but this is a beam that you don't have to aim. It does damage and it also chills. Then we have Earthen Spear in Earth, which does reasonable damage and cripples. It's a projectile and it pierces. The three skills are all buffs. In air we have Energize, which gives us super speed and will make the next spear skill critically hit. To be honest with you, you'll be critting most of the time on this one anyway, so this isn't that great. On fire we've got Seethe. This gives us a 20% damage increase to the next spear skill, along with Might and Fury. It's worth noting this one has a cast time, but this is really good. In water you get Ripple. This is a ridiculously overloaded skill. It's really good. The best skill on the kit, if I'm honest. So this is going to give you healing. It's a leap finisher as well, so if you do it in a water field, you're going to get even more healing. It cures 2 conditions, it's an evade, and on top of that, the next spear skill will recharge 33% faster. I generally try and use this with Undertow afterwards for the reduced cooldown buff. In Earth, we have Harden. This is also a really good skill. This will give you barrier, and your next spear skill will inflict daze, which pairs really nicely with Lightning Rod, which we'll go over in a bit. The 4 skills are all high impact AoEs. They've got an interesting mechanic where you've got a center radius as well as a normal radius, and they have an additional effect if you catch enemies in the center. In air you have Twister. You really need to catch enemies in the center of this one. It's a really strong CC if you do, a 1.5 second float, but it's just some vulnerability in the outside if you don't. On fire we have Meteor, which is one of your highest damage skills. It's really good. It does 25% more damage to enemies caught in the center. In water we have Undertow. This is a strong CC, a pull on the outer circle and a slow in the center. So you can use this and say combo it with Twister to make sure you land it, which is really useful. Then in Earth you get Fissure, which is a bit like Meteor, does good damage, 25% more to enemies in the center, and it also applies a cripple, which is good, and a weakness, which is really great on this build. This one is actually relatively easy to land and is one of the better damaging skills on the kit. So next we've got our 5 skills, which are the Etchings. This is going to drop a combo field down at your feet for 7 seconds, which is also going to pulse an effect on you while you stand inside it. In air we have Derecho, which we get a lightning field for, and it will pulse Fury on us. When we press it, it will flip over and we'll get another skill we can fire off. The mechanic with this is that you get a lesser version when you immediately place the etching, but if you cast 3 skills while you're standing inside the etching within the 7 seconds, you'll get the full version of it. This is a much more powerful version and you'll generally want to do this if you can. The casts don't have to just be weapon skills, they can also be your utility skills, attunement swaps, or even trait procs. So if you look here, we're going to get the full Derecho, which is a much more powerful version, a slightly bigger area of effect. And Derecho particularly is really high damage, and it will also daze, which will give you extra damage from Lightning Rod, which we'll go over. But this is definitely your highest damage skill, it's really, really good. So next up we've got Volcano and Fire. This is going to give you a Fire Field and Pulse Might for the duration. It will give you a Volcano which you can place. This one stays in place though, so it does do a ton of damage, but enemies can easily move out. So to maximise it, you really do need to combo it with CCs, put it on down bodies. You can throw it into a Zerg and it will do a lot of damage, or if you're being pressured in melee, you can put it on top of yourself and force the melee attacker to take a ton of damage. In water we get Yockelhlup. This one's a more defensive skill. The Etching pulses healing and is a water field, so you can combo it with Blast or Leap finishes for even more healing. And Yockelhlup will also do a pretty decent heal, like around 4k, as well as doing a little bit of damage. And then finally in Earth we have Haboob, which is a dark field. ANET refuses to give Ellie stealth unfortunately, so no smoke field, but it does pulse stability, which is really, really strong. Haboob itself is going to do big damage and will also apply weakness, cripple, vulnerability and blind. It's really, really good. So because we're playing Weaver, we also have dual skills. For anyone who doesn't know, Weaver allows you to attune to 2 elements at the same time. You've got a primary attunement and a secondary attunement. As you cycle through attunements, your primary goes to your secondary and your new one becomes your primary attunement. If you're attuned to 2 different elements, you'll get a dual skill that combines both elements together. There's a really interesting mechanic on Spear specifically for Weaver, where if you use your dual skill, it will immediately reset the cooldown of your primary attunement. This allows you to very quickly double attune to the same element and quickly access the 4 and 5 skills of your new attunement. Normally you'd need to wait out the 4-second global cooldown, or use Unravel, a utility skill, to do this. This allows you to bypass one of the more annoying mechanics of Weaver. In addition to resetting the cooldown of your primary attunement, the dual skills will provide a couple of instant minor effects, and they have just been buffed to also now add damage and another effect to your next strike, a bit like Thief Venoms. The next strike doesn't have to be a spear skill, unlike the previous Spear 3 skills that we looked at, so you could even use this for something like Lightning Flash or Arcane Wave. They're really, really good now. So on to the skills themselves. For Air Fire you have Galvanize. It will give you super speed, which is pretty good, and might, which is pretty good, and instead of adding damage and an effect to your next skill, it's just going to do more damage, and more damage is good. For Earth Air we have Shale Storm, which is a really strong skill. This will give you a 3-second projectile denial on an 18-second cooldown, which is appreciated since Spear doesn't have any other form of projectile denial. It's an extra defensive skill that Weaver gets that other Ellie specs don't on Spear. The additional strike will also do some damage, as well as blind and cripple. Both are really useful on this build. For Water Earth we have Soothing Burst. This is a really strong defensive skill. It will give you some healing, and it's also a blast finisher. So if you use this in the water field from water etching, this will give you even more healing, and then your next strike is going to do a little bit of damage, but even more healing, so you can absolutely use this as a burst heal skill. In Fire Water we have Frostfire Ward. This one is okay. It will give you a fire and frost aura, which will pair nicely with one of the traits we'll be taking, and it's going to give you a little bit of extra damage to your next attack, and it will remove 2 conditions if you land it. It's definitely the weakest of all the dual skills in my opinion. Then in Fire Earth we have Fiery Impact. This is a really good skill. It will give you stability and a blast finisher. The best use case for this is probably using it in Etching Volcano to blast Might. It'll do a pretty good amount of damage, plus add bleeding, which isn't great, and burning, which is. And finally, in Water Air we have Elutriate. This one is also good. It will remove a couple of conditions from you, 1 non-damaging, 1 damaging, and then your next strike will do some damage and apply vulnerability and chill. Both are pretty useful. For utility skills we're going to go for Ether Renewal. This is a pulsing heal which heals a lot, removes 8 conditions. It will give you almost a whole bar of endurance back, and it's on a 15-second cooldown, which is really low. The downside is that it's a channel and therefore can be interrupted, but we've got a fair amount of stability on this build and we'll be kiting loads, so in my experience it doesn't get interrupted too often. We're also going to take Armour of Earth. This is a really strong defensive skill. It will give you protection, 10 stacks of stability, and it's a stun break, and it will also give you barrier per boon on you, up to a maximum of 6 boons. We will pretty much always have 5 or 6 boons on us when we use this, so it's going to be a good amount of barrier. We're going to take Lightning Flash. It's going to do a tiny bit of damage, but this is inconsequential. But it's a 900 range teleport. It's not a stun break, but it can kind of act as a pseudo stun break by moving you out the way. Then we've got Arcane Wave. This is a really good skill. It will give you mobility, it does damage, it's a daze, so more CC, and it's also a blast finisher, so again you can use this in water fields for extra healing, and it's got 2 charges, really good skill. You can also potentially combo this with Lightning Flash to extend its range and help you land it. Then finally we're going to take Tornado. This is probably the best option. It will give you pulsing stability, which is nice, it's unblockable, which is nice, it's going to add a ton of CC to your build. I like to use this to deny a res, for example, and also a movement ability. As you can see here, you can do a lot of damage with it. When it comes to traits, we're using Fire, Air and Weaver for maximum damage. You can drop Fire for Arcane, which will give you more utility. It's a bit more defensive, but it does a lot less damage. Water is also very good. It has good damage multipliers and good healing, but I personally find Fire better. In Fire, we'll take Burning Fire, which will passively cleanse 3 conditions on a 40-second cooldown. Power Overwhelming, which will give us extra power when we're at a might threshold, which will be most of the time. We then take Pyromancer's Puissance. This will generate might for us, and also when we leave fire it will do a flame expulsion, but this is in melee range so you won't actually be landing this too often, but when you do it will hit hard. The other options here aren't worth taking. The other good thing about fire is that it's going to give us a fire aura whenever we switch to fire, and that's going to play really nicely with Zephyr's Boon from air. This is going to give us fury and swiftness every time we gain an aura, so basically every time we switch to fire. And this is going to ensure that we get 100% uptime of fury and swiftness. You can potentially take one with air on this build for more super speed, but I think having 100% uptime of fury and swiftness is better personally. If you decide to go for arcane or water instead of fire, I would go for one with air though. We are going to take Raging Storm for extra fury, and we'll take Lightning Rod also. This is really key to the build. I've mentioned it a couple of times previously, and will cool down lightning on a disabled foe, so whenever we CC someone it's going to do extra damage. You'll notice here that it says cast Lightning Rod, so when we CC someone we'll get a passive extra cast that counts towards our etchings. So technically if you CC 2 people at once it's an instant full charge of the etching, because you'll be casting it twice. It will also apply weakness, which is really good, because that plays really nicely with superior elements from Weaver. This will give us a 15% increased critical chance against weakened foes, and all of our dual attacks will weaken enemies. We've got quite a lot of weakness on this build, so it works really well. We will also take Swift Revenge, which gives us a 10% damage increase when we have swiftness or super speed, which we will have pretty much all the time. And lastly, we'll take Elements of Rage. This will give us a small damage buff for 8 seconds when we attune to a single element, which we will be doing a lot because of the mechanics on Spear Weaver. And also there's a stat conversion, precision based on vitality of 13%, which is pretty strong and is going to allow us to take more aggressive stats. For gear we're running really glassy. You can see we're running 15k HP. You can run more if you want, but I generally find doing more damage is better, and this is the sweet spot. I'm running a mixture of Dragon, Berserker and Marauder stats, Scholar Runes, Battle and Celerity Sigils for might and quickness. We're also running the Relic of the Phenom, which is going to give us protection when we use a cantrip, and we're running 4 cantrips, so this gives us a reasonable uptime of protection on the build. If you really want to run with more vitality, just add more Marauder and Dragon pieces. Just try and aim for 65% crit chance if you can. Don't go above this, because when you've got Fury you're at 85%, and when you take into account you have 15% increased chance against weakened foes you're already at 100, so anything above this is wasted stats. For food, we're running Sharpening Stones and Peppercorn Spiced Coq au vin for damage reduction, power and precision. The next thing I wanted to talk about was your combat settings, and I would highly recommend that you go into combat and movement here and make sure that you've got instant ground targeting and also tick allow skill retargeting. I don't recommend snap to target for spear. This will allow you to move the skill during the cast time. So if you put it here, it will move over here, and the same the other way round. And this will allow you to land skills a lot easier on spear, especially something like Twister, where you need to catch them in the centre of the skill. There are a couple of exceptions to this, specifically in fire, where neither Blazing Barrage or Meteor will allow this. As you can see, they will just remain where you first click them, so do be careful. This is a good example. The Gale Shot leaps away and I'm able to follow them with my cursor to land Twister, and then down them while they're invisible with Derecho, and then cleave them with a nice Flame Expulsion Tornado combo. When it comes to burst combos, as you'd expect on a spec with lots of skills, there's lots of options available to you. I try not to think of rotations when I'm playing this in World v World, as you really need to react to what's happening and adjust accordingly. It's more kite, burst, etc. Sticking to a rotation is likely just to get you killed very quickly. An obvious quirk with Spear is that the etchings require you to stay in place to charge the attacks, but survivability on Spear requires you to kite. So how do we charge the etchings as quickly as possible while kiting? This will be a mixture of utilising the fact that the 3 skills are mostly instant cast, that you can use Lightning Rod procs for additional charges if you land CCs, and in Weaver you can also use attunement swaps and not lose your current etching skill. So for example, on Earth, that's 2 skills and we've fully charged to Boob. It will be the same on air as well, so we can drop the etching, 3, 4, and a Lightning Rod proc, 2 skills and a full charge. On fire, it's a little bit harder, since you don't have any CCs, so you would end up having to use all 3 skills here. But you can also use attunement swaps, and again, that's 2 skills, an attunement swap, and we've fully charged Volcano. Water also has Undertow, so a CC, so we can just pair this with another skill or an attunement swap and it's fully charged. If we look at smaller combos, we really want to look at what pairs nicely with what. So let's start with Seethe. If we look at PvE, you'll be told to pair Seethe with Volcano, and that works if the opponent is static, but that tends not to be the case in World v World. You can use this if you're putting it into a Zerg for instance. Volcano is going to do the most damage overall, but generally speaking I would pair this with Meteor, which turns it into a big burst damage skill. It's going to give you the 20% extra damage, and it's going to give you the 25% extra damage if you catch them in the centre. Next one on Earth, I mentioned it earlier, Harden combined with Fissure is really great, hard to avoid and big damage. Another one I mentioned briefly is going from Fire into Tornado. You'll release a Flame Expulsion in melee range when you leave Fire attunement. You'll use Tornado in melee range. The transformation will take you out of Fire attunement, so we'll proc Flame Expulsion, so you can pair Tornado with it, it's really good. I also mentioned earlier about using Undertow with Twister to help you land Twister, or land it on multiple enemies. A good way to land damage is to combo with your CCs. It is generally quite difficult to land damage on Spear, especially when both you and your opponent are moving, so if you can catch them in a CC it will really help you. Twister is the easiest to combo with because it lasts longer, but it is a harder CC to land. You'll generally want to switch into Fire because that's where the damage multipliers are, it gives you might generation, and then you combine it with Blazing Barrage and Meteor. You can also do small combos with Undertow, but you'll generally only be able to get 1 extra skill off. Since the patch, you'll definitely want to ensure that you're also using your dual skills as part of the burst. These are all instant cast, so you can press them mid-cast just before you land the skills to add more damage and effects. It's basically free damage, so it's a use them or lose them situation most of the time, unless you're saving them for something specific, such as Shalestorm for expected incoming projectiles, or a Lutriate for condition cleanse, etc. Did I mention it's free damage? The other nice thing you can do is to use Lightning Flash offensively to help you land skills that would otherwise be easy to dodge, or for a surprise factor. Again, it's instant cast, so you can press it mid-cast and it won't interrupt your current animation. You can see here I've paired it with Haboob, which will give your opponent less time to react. You can do the same thing with Derecho, Arcane Wave as I mentioned earlier, Tornado before you finish the cast. This is a relatively high risk strategy, so you do need to choose carefully when to do this. The highest burst damage combo I've come up with starts in air and water, and one I've used in many clips in my previous montages. I don't always feel I have time to pull all of this off at once, and sometimes I will vary it slightly. but to do this you'll need to start off in air water with no cooldowns on your attunements. We'll first press Elutriate here to add additional damage to the next strike, and we'll use Full Gore. We do this first to strip Aegis from our enemies or remove Blind from ourselves to help land Undertow. We then immediately switch to fire, use Galvanize for some free damage, and drop Etching Derecho. We then use Twister to put them in a longer CC, and use Blazing Barrage. This should have fully charged Derecho, which we will then fire off, and we immediately attune again to fire. We then drop Etching Volcano, use Seethe, Meteor, and because Lightning Rod procs when Derecho lands, we've fully charged Volcano. As you can see, this does a ridiculous amount of damage. For defensive combos, you'll generally want to go straight into Pure Water, using the dual skills to let you double attune instantly. Then you can drop the Etching for a water field, and then use Ripple, which will do a reasonable amount of healing from the skill plus the leap combo. You can then combo it with more blasts, so something like Arcane Wave. You can then go into Earth Attunement to use Soothing Burst for even more healing, a blast, and more healing on your next strike. This should then have fully charged Water 5, which you can also fire off for a big heal. If you do all of this and land Water 5, it's almost a full heal. It's really strong. It looks something like this. You'll notice here that I didn't use Arcane Wave, which I could have done for extra healing, although you can see it wasn't needed. Otherwise, from a defensive point of view, you've got to utilise Kiting to avoid damage. You've got Super Speed on Energize, and also on Galvanize. You've got a Leap Finisher on Ripple, a Leap on Arcane Blast, and we have 2 charges of this. We've also got Lightning Flash, plus Tornado, so if you go into Tornado, your skill 5 will also rush you forward. And on top of that, you can pair that with all of the CC you have, so Undertow and Twister, and the build also has plenty of Chill and Cripple, so you can kite very well. I hope you guys found this useful. Let me know what you think in the comments if you managed to get this far. Thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with some clips.